one of the things that helped me in almost 18 years at ESPN, because we're doing different sports, you're covering different teams, different leagues, is getting prepared for an event and getting prepared well ahead of an event. I think early in my career, as I was still trying to learn how to prepare for games, it would be like the old being in college, all night cram session before a big test or an exam. And I think as the years went by, I kind of learned a little better how to prepare so that I wasn't wasting my time on things that just weren't that meaningful for the telecast. And then I found that the more I prepared early for a game, because like if I did a basketball game, I'd call one of the assistant coaches like 4 or 5 days before the game. And I know they might have another game between then and the time I would see them, but it sure helped to have some of that information early, because then if I watch tape of that next game they played, I will have already been clued into some of the things that they were doing. And I think baseball is the same way. Now, in the major leagues, it's interesting because we go from city to city, and really your first day in a new city is kind of important because you want to talk to the opposing pitching coach. If you can get to the manager, you want to talk to him. You may want to talk to any players you might be familiar with on the other team, just to get a feel for what they're doing other than statistics and numbers. So to me, preparation is the number one thing. I think you have to be prepared to work with just about anybody because a lot of these guys have different personalities. Some of them were star players. Some of them weren't. Some of those think they were star players. But, you run into different personalities and different egos as you go through this process. So I think one of the strengths I had at ESPN in 17 or 18 years was I really had the ability to become friends quickly and work with anybody they threw my way. Being able to work with a whole myriad of different types of people. And that includes analysts, who's, the person who's actually on the air with you, but also producers, directors, graphics people, stage managers. And I found that the better I treated those people, the more pleasant the experience was when we finally came together for the event. I know that there are some major league guys who've gotten their job with the ball club just because they happen to be in that market. But then you have a situation like what happened last year with John Radigan down in Texas. He was in the market. He was with Fox. The Rangers gave him the TV job, and then things didn't work out so well, and they let him go from that job because maybe he didn't have the baseball preparation or the baseball background that a minor league guy might have. So if I had to choose between the two, I would say the minor league route, because baseball is a different sport than all the others. Football, basketball, hockey, the other main sports, you're pretty much identifying names and numbers as the ball or the puck flies around the field or around the ice. And baseball is totally different than that. Baseball is a game of stories that you might tell in between outs or in between batters or in between pitches. It's a more conversational type approach to broadcast. And I think that's something that you hone over the years by doing single A, double A, triple A baseball, maybe college baseball, which I actually had more of a background in college baseball than I did in Major League Baseball before I got my first chance to work for the Cardinals in 1984. So I think the minor league route prepares you better for baseball. And the other thing that I didn't think about a minute ago is that when you're coming through the minor leagues, you're going to meet certain players and coaches and managers, maybe a trainer, maybe a PR guy, maybe a general manager, and then maybe you run into them later at the major league level, and the contacts you make on the way to the major leagues is huge as you make those steps forward. Nobody that I knew of was really putting out a baseball scorebook that would help an announcer do his job better. My first couple of games, probably my first couple of months of games in the major leagues from 1984, I used a softball scorebook that I found at a sporting goods store here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's what I worked from. And as I went through those early games, I'm learning myself how to do things at the major league level. And as I went through that process, I'm looking at this book, I mean, this looks like something I'd be doing if I was coaching my daughter. So I really kind of figured I needed something a whole lot better. So I don't remember whether it was in a hotel room on the road or at home in between games. I just sat down with a couple of 8.5 by 11 sheets, pulled out a ruler. You know, we didn't have word processors and all kinds of fancy graphic stuff back in 1984, and I'm sure some of my measurements weren't real accurate, but I pretty much put together a 2-page grid of what I wanted a baseball scorebook to look like. And I had seen the lineup cards in Major League dugouts where you had the lineup. Right below that, you had the extra players who were available to hit for your team. You had your bullpen guys listed, and then you had the same thing for the other team. That's where I kind of got the idea that I would put boxes within the scorebook where you could have those things. So you would, in a late game situation, if it's the 8th inning and I'm doing the Cardinals against the Dodgers, I know exactly who the Cardinals have on their bench. I know who the Cardinals have, or rather the Dodgers have available in their bullpen. I don't have to go looking at rosters to find that stuff because that's information that I have filled out before the game. So that's kind of how the scorebook took its present form. And it still features those things to this day, which is what, almost 28 years later. Then I did a box for defense, and so that if a fly ball went to left field, I could immediately look down at my scorebook in case I forgot, because sometimes you do, and see who's in left field, center field, right field, who's at the infield positions. And then, of course, there's another box that tells you where the umpires are and who they are. So all of those things I thought of back in '84 are still integrated into the scorebook to this day. They just have to go to the website, which is bcscorebook.com. And there's an order page there. You can use a credit card. You can print out the order form if you want to mail it in. The internet is a whole lot quicker because as soon as you enter the order, it shows up on my email, and then I process the order, and we usually get the books out to sportscasters and fans the next day. So bcscorebook.com. We did a redesign on the website about 2 or 3 years ago. It's really easy to navigate. And the other thing on the website that I'm really proud of, we have a testimonials page. And if you scroll down on that page, there's a long list of major league announcers, writers, scouts, executives who've used the book. And then there's another list over on the right side that's probably 3 times that size, which is all the college, high school, and minor league announcers who've used the book over the years. And, you know, it's fun for me to hear from guys who say, hey, I use your scorebook. Can I get my name added to your website? And within a day or two, you know, we'll get them on there. I'm real proud of the fact that we have an unbelievable roster of guys and ladies over the years who've used the book, and you can find that on the testimonials page at bcscorebook.com.